My Learning Secret, The Alchemist of Words, Chapter 1, The Stone Fortress. The final bell's ring was, as always, a merciful sound. Leo shoved his English textbook into his backpack with a theatrical gesture and a deep, weary sigh. The blue cover, emblazoned with the title English Horizons, Intermediate, felt to him like the individual stones of a high, impenetrable wall. The pages explaining the past perfect continuous tense and separable phrasal verbs were heavy, not just in his hands, but in his spirit. English was a fortress, a majestic, intimidating structure of rules, exceptions, and strange sounds, and he was forever on the outside, fumbling with a small, useless key. "I'm telling you, Ava, I'll never get this," he muttered, slinging his bag over one shoulder as they shuffled out of the classroom into the bustling hallway. "It's like a code I'm not meant to crack. I study the lists, I try to memorize the rules, and then, poof, it all evaporates when I need it." His friend Ava, her own books neatly arranged, gave him a thoughtful look. She adjusted her glasses. "Maybe," she said, her voice calm amidst the locker-slamming chaos. "You're trying to learn everyone else's way but your own. You're using a keycut for a different lock." Leo blinked. "My own way? What's that supposed to mean?" "My way is staring at a page until the words dance. My way is frustration and forgetting." He mimed, his brain exploding. Ava just smiled softly. "Exactly. So maybe that's not your way at all. It's just the way you've been told to do it. Think about it." With a wave, she turned down the corridor towards the science wing, leaving Leo standing amidst the stream of departing students, her cryptic words buzzing in his head like a trapped fly. His own way? The concept felt foreign, almost rebellious. Learning had a formula, didn't it? Textbook, homework, test. Rinse and repeat. What other way could there possibly be? That evening, the dread descended as it always did. His desk was a monument to good intentions, the English Horizons book open to a chapter on modal verbs, a stack of vocabulary flashcards bound by a tight rubber band, a highlighted worksheet on article usage, a trinity of torment. He picked up a flashcard, ubiquitous, present, appearing, or found everywhere. He stared at it, ubiquitous. The word felt clumsy in his mind. Where would he even use it? It was just a lonely floating piece of data with no home. A wave of defiant exhaustion washed over him. He couldn't do it. Not tonight. With a groan, he pushed the textbook aside, sending a few flashcards fluttering to the floor. He opened his laptop not to a grammar website or a language app, but to his sanctuary, Global Gearheads, an international online forum for racing enthusiasts and mechanical tinkerers. The forum was a vibrant, chaotic universe of its own. There were sub-forums for classic car restoration, Formula One aerodynamics, DIY engine modifications, and spirited debates about horsepower versus torque. Leo's passion wasn't just cars. It was the symphony of mechanics, the physics of speed, the beauty of a well-tuned machine. He'd been a lurker for years, reading with avid interest but never participating, daunted by the fact that most of the active discussion was in English. Tonight, however, something shifted. He clicked on a thread titled "Debating the New F1 Turbo Hybrid Efficiency Regulations, a Step Forward or a Creativity Killer." He began to read. The sentences were long, filled with technical jargon like thermal efficiency, MGUH recovery, and fuel flow limits. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, Leo felt a strange pull. He wanted to understand this. He needed to know why some fans were furious and others were thrilled. He found himself parsing the sentences, not to analyze subject-verb agreement, but to extract meaning. He was reading for purpose. He stumbled over a phrase, "The regs potentially stymie ingenuity in the pursuit of sustainability." Stymie. He didn't know that word. A week ago, he would have sighed and skipped it. Now, driven by genuine curiosity, he right-clicked and selected Search Google for stymie meaning. The definition popped up, to prevent or hinder the progress of. He nodded. It made perfect sense in context. The rule change could prevent ingenuity. The word clicked into place, anchored by the heated debate around it. His heart beat a little faster. This felt different. This wasn't studying. This was investigating. An idea, fragile and bold, formed in his mind. At the bottom of the page was the reply box. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. His English was bad. He would make mistakes. People might laugh. But the urge to be part of the conversation, to ask a real question to people who shared his passion, was stronger than the fear. He typed slowly, painfully aware of every keystroke. "Hello, I from Turkey. I read about new turbo rules. Can someone explain more simple why is bad for smaller teams? I not understand fully about budget cap also. Thank you for any helps." The grammar was a mess. Articles were missing. The word order was shaky. He cringed reading it back. But it was his question, his genuine curiosity, translated as best he could. He took a deep breath and hit post reply. The action felt monumental. He had just thrown his tiny self-made key at the giant fortress door. He wasn't sure if it would even make a sound. Chapter 2. The First Spark. The next 24 hours were filled with a nervous anticipation, Leo usually reserved for exam results. He checked the forum obsessively. An hour after posting, nothing. 2 hours. He went to bed feeling a flicker of foolishness. Morning came, and with it, the ritual of checking his phone before getting up. He opened the forum app, his thumb hovering over the notification icon. There it was, 3 replies to your thread. His pulse quickened. He tapped it, half expecting mocking comments or, worse, silence. The first reply was from a user named @WrenchTurner from Canada. "Hey there, welcome to the discussion. Good questions. Let me try to break it down. The new regulations are more complex, so they require more expensive R&D, research and development. Big teams like Mercedes or Red Bull have huge budgets. Smaller teams like Haas or Williams have less money. The budget cap is a rule that says teams can only spend a certain amount of money per year, like $135 million. But the cost of designing for these new rules might eat up most of that cap, leaving little for other things. So, it could stymie, hinder their ability to compete. Hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask more. Leo read it 3 times. Not only was it a clear, kind explanation, but @WrenchTurner had even used the word stymie again, reinforcing it for him. He hadn't been laughed at. He'd been helped. The second reply, from @Pit Stop Queen in the UK, was even more encouraging. Welcome to Global Gearheads. Don't worry about your English. We understand you perfectly. Your point is very valid. The cost cap is supposed to level the playing field, but if the technical rules themselves are inherently costly, it creates a paradox. It's a bit of a catch-22 for the smaller outfits. Also, just a friendly tip, you can say, I am from Turkey, and I do not fully understand the budget cap either. Keep posting. Asterisk, she had corrected him, gently, kindly, and usefully. The corrections weren't red pen marks on a test. They were tools handed to him so he could communicate better next time. He felt a surge of gratitude, not embarrassment. The third reply was a simple link from a user in Italy, here as a good video summary from a technical channel. It has subtitles. Leo sat on the edge of his bed, a slow smile spreading across his face. This was the tiny, almost imperceptible first spark of his learning secret. It wasn't a flash of brilliance, but a small, steady glow of connection and purpose. That day in English class, Mr. Clark, a patient man with a perpetually optimistic tone, was reviewing the future perfect tense. By the end of next year, I will have finished this course, he wrote on the board. Leo usually tuned out, the grammar formulas floating past him. But today, he looked at the sentence and his forum post flashed in his mind. He thought, by the end of this season, Mercedes will have spent their entire budget cap. He was applying it. He scribbled the sentence in the margin of his notebook. It felt relevant. It felt his. After class, instead of heading straight out, he approached Mr. Clark's desk. Sir, he began, hesitantly. If I wanted to get better by using English for my hobbies, like reading about cars online, would that help? Even if I make a lot of mistakes? Mr. Clark looked up, his eyes brightening with interest. Leo, that is one of the best things you could do. That's called authentic input and purposeful output. You're learning the language in its natural habitat, not just in the zoo of a textbook. The mistakes are how you learn. Embrace them. That, he said, pointing a finger at Leo for emphasis, could be your secret weapon. The phrase echoed Ava's, your own way, your secret weapon. That evening, Leo didn't open English Horizons. He opened his laptop and went straight to Global Gearheads. He had a mission now. He found a thread about restoring a classic 1969 Mustang. He spent an hour reading about carburetor rebuilds, bodywork rust removal, and upholstery stitching. He didn't understand every word, but he grasped the story, the struggle, the solutions, the triumph. He also discovered a YouTube channel recommended in the forum, run by a charismatic Scottish mechanic named Callum, who worked on vintage motorcycles. Leo watched his first video, reviving a dormant 1972 Triumph Bonneville, Part 1. Callum spoke fast, his accent thick, his hands constantly moving over engine parts. Leo turned on the English subtitles. It was challenging, but he was glued. He heard words like seized, gasket, camshaft, and saw exactly what they meant. The language was attached to actions, to images, to sounds, the satisfying clunk of a freed bolt, the scratch of sandpaper on metal. This was secret number 1. Interest is the best fuel. He had stopped forcing himself to consume bland, generic English. He had started immersing himself in a specific, passionate world where English was merely the medium. The vocabulary wasn't a list, it was a toolkit. He needed to know socket wrench, because he saw Callum use one. He needed compression test because the forum was debating its results. The language became necessary and therefore memorable. He started a new notebook. But it wasn't for vocabulary lists. On the first page, he wrote, "My motorcycle glossary." Under it, he wrote, "Seized, age, stuck, unable to move." The piston was seized in the cylinder after 30 years. To strip down, phrasal verb, to completely disassemble. Callum is going to strip down the entire engine. He was not just collecting words. He was curating a personal dictionary from his own experiences. Chapter 3. Building the Key. Piece by piece, Leo's initial spark began to grow into a steady flame. He realized that trying to study for 2 hours was a recipe for burnout. It was like trying to eat a 7-course meal in one go, overwhelming and ultimately unpleasant. So he instituted secret number 2, small bites, not a feast. He set a simple goal, 15 minutes of focused, joyful English a day outside of homework. Some days that meant watching one 10-minute motorcycle restoration video and writing down 2 new phrases he heard. Other days, it meant reading just 2 forum posts and trying to summarize them in one simple English sentence in his notebook. Today I read that Ferrari is worried about their car's straight-line speed. The small daily victories were powerful. They didn't leave him exhausted, they left him wanting more. The 15 minutes often stretched to 30 or 40, not out of obligation, but because he was engaged. He also made a crucial mindset shift, which became secret number 3, embrace the mess. He actively decided to stop fearing mistakes. They were no longer failures. They were the most valuable feedback. When he wrote on the forum, "I think the driver should have gone to the pits earlier," he received a quick, friendly reply from at Pit Stop Queen. "Good point. Just a small note. The past of go is went. I think the driver should have gone to the pits. It's an irregular one tricky bugger." He laughed. Tricky bugger. He learned the correction and a fun colloquial phrase. The mistake had led to a richer interaction. He started seeing errors as signposts on his learning map, showing him where the road needed adjustment. He began to engage more boldly. He answered a user's question about Turkish car culture. He shared a link to a local auto show. His sentences were still imperfect, but they were improving. He started using connectors he saw others use. However, I think, on the other hand, in addition to that, one Saturday, inspired by Cullum the mechanic, Leo decided to clean the chain on his own bicycle. As he worked, he found himself thinking in simple English. First, I need the degreaser. I will apply it to the chain. Now, I have to scrub with the brush. It is very dirty. The cassette is also grimy. It was a quiet internal monologue, but it felt like a revolution. The language was escaping the pages and the screen and entering his real-world actions. This led him to secret number 4, connect, don't just collect. He stopped seeing words as isolated units. He started building webs of meaning. When he learned precise from a description of engine tuning, he connected it. Precise measurement. A precise turn of the wrench. The opposite of precise is sloppy or approximate. He learned durable for engine parts and linked it to fragile, resilient, and long-lasting. His notebook became a network of associations, a living mind map of his interests. He wasn't memorizing. He was understanding relationships. Weeks melted into months. Leo's forum presence evolved. His posts grew from two-line questions to thoughtful paragraphs analyzing race strategies or comparing different motorcycle models. He began to use the technical vocabulary with confidence. He wrote sentences like, "While the inline-4 engine configuration offers smoother power delivery, the V-twin arguably has more character and low-end torque, which is better for city riding." He had never been taught the word arguably in class. He had absorbed it from countless forum debates. He started listening to Callum's videos first without subtitles, challenging himself. He was amazed to find he could understand about 70% of it. The remaining 30% he would figure out from context, or he would rewatch with subtitles, focusing only on the parts he missed. His ear was tuning itself to the rhythm and melody of natural speech. The fortress of English hadn't been stormed and taken in a grand battle. Instead, Leo was quietly, steadily building a bridge to it, stone by stone, using the materials of his own passion. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Test. The change in Leo was subtle but profound. In English class, he participated more. He no longer saw grammar exercises as arbitrary puzzles but as blueprints for structures he wanted to use. When Mr. Clark taught the passive voice, the car was designed by a new engineer. Leo immediately thought the engine was rebuilt by Callum. The grammar had a use. He even started reading other things in English. A simplified biography of Ayrton Senna, a blog about the history of automotive design. The fear was gone, replaced by a sense of capability. The real unexpected test came not in a classroom, but through a notification on his phone. It was a private message on Global Gearheads from Wrench Turner, the Canadian user who had first welcomed him. "Hey, Leo, hope you're well. The forum mods are organizing a small, informal online voice chat this weekend for a few of us to discuss the upcoming Monaco Grand Prix. Just a relaxed talk. We were wondering if you'd like to join. Your insights on the midfield teams are always interesting. No pressure at all." Leo's blood ran cold, then hot. A voice chat, speaking in real time. With native speakers from Canada and the UK, this was the ultimate test. Reading and writing were one thing. They gave you time. Speaking was immediate, messy, and terrifying. His first instinct was to decline politely. "Thank you, but my spoken English is not good." "I will listen." He typed the words, his finger hovering over send. Then he stopped. He thought of all the small steps, the first post, the gentle corrections, the internal monologues while fixing his bike. He thought of secret number 3, embrace the mess. This would be messy. He would hesitate. He would mispronounce words. He might not understand something. But these were the same people who had helped him from the start. He deleted his draft. He took a deep, shaky breath and typed a new reply. "Thank you for the invitation. I would like to try to join. My speaking is not very fluent, so please be patient with me. I am very interested in the Monaco race. What time is the chat?" He hit send before he could change his mind. The day of the chat arrived. Leo set up his computer in his room, his heart pounding like a drum. He put on headphones and tested his cheap microphone. "Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3, he said to himself, cringing at the sound of his own accented English. The link connected. he heard voices. Think the Haas looks decent in the slow corners. Yes, but their drag on the straight is a massive liability. It was at Wrench Turner and at Pit Stop Queen, chatting easily. Hello, is Leo there? At Wrench Turner asked. Leo's mouth was dry. Yes, hello, I am here. Can you hear me? Perfectly. Great to have you on, Leo. At Pit Stop Queen's single quotes S voice was warm and encouraging. For the first 5 minutes, Leo just listened, his nerves a tight knot in his stomach. Then, at Wrench Turner asked him a direct question. Leo, you mentioned Alfa Romeo's strategy last week was risky. What would you have done differently in their position? The question was about something he knew. The panic receded slightly, replaced by focus. He took a second to organize his thoughts. I think they pitted too early. The tire degradation was not so high. They could have waited. Maybe 5 more laps. This would give them an advantage at the end of the race. His sentences were halting. He used simple words. He forgot to say the a few times, but he got his idea across. Interesting point, Wrench Turner replied. A later undercut could have worked if the safety car hadn't come out. The conversation flowed around him. He listened intently, chiming in when he could. I agree. That is a good point. What about the McLaren? He asked one question himself. Sometimes he had to say, sorry, can you repeat that? Or, what does propensity mean? No one minded. They repeated, they explained, they included him. For 30 minutes, he was in a real, flowing English conversation about a topic he loved. It was exhausting and exhilarating. When the chat ended, he slumped back in his chair, physically drained but mentally buzzing with a powerful new kind of energy. He had done it. He had crossed a major threshold. The bridge he had built held his weight. Chapter 5. The secret revealed. A few weeks later, parent-teacher conferences were held. Leo waited outside the classroom as his mother spoke with Mr. Clark in Turkish. He could see through the glass panel in the door that Mr. Clark was smiling and gesturing animatedly. When his mother came out, she looked pleasantly surprised. He says you have made incredible progress. He is very impressed. Mr. Clark appeared at the door. Leo, do you have a moment? Leo stepped into the now empty classroom. Mr. Clark leaned against his desk, holding Leo's latest essay in his hands. It was titled, The Philosophy of the Manual Transmission in an Automatic World. Leo, Mr. Clark began, his tone one of genuine curiosity. This essay. It's not just grammatically strong, which it is, by the way. Your use of contrast clauses is excellent, but it's insightful. It has a voice. It has passion. And your class participation, your recent work, it's a quantum leap. What happened? What's your secret? Leo stood there, thinking of the journey. He thought of the lonely frustration with the textbook, Ava's cryptic advice, the first terrifying forum post, the kind corrections, Callum's gritty hands on engine parts, the notebook filled with connected words, the heart-pounding voice chat. He thought of his collection of small, consistent habits built around his love for mechanics. He smiled, not a boastful smile, but one of quiet realization. My secret, Mr. Clark, he said, is that I stopped trying to only learn English. I started letting English help me learn about the things I love. I made it a tool, not a subject. I looked for it in its natural habitat, not just in the textbook. And I gave myself permission to be a beginner, to make mistakes, to ask questions, to build my understanding slowly. From the ground up, Mr. Clark listened, nodding slowly. You found authentic input and created purposeful output. You built a comprehensible world for yourself. Yes, Leo said. But more than that, I built my own key. Everyone told me where the door was and gave me a standard key. It never fit. So I collected pieces from my own world, from forums, from videos, from conversations about things I care about, and I forged my own. It's not perfect, but it turns the lock, Mr. Clark beamed. That, Leo, is more than a secret to learning English. That's a secret to learning anything. You've become an alchemist. You're taking the base metal of a foreign language and turning it into the gold of real communication, using the fire of your own interest. The phrase stuck with Leo as he walked home that evening, the alchemist of words. He liked it. His secret wasn't a shortcut or a magic pill. It was a process, a personal, sustainable, and deeply rewarding process of alchemy. He had discovered that the power to unlock the fortress wasn't in finding a master key, but in having the courage and creativity to build your own, one meaningful piece at a time. And that, he knew, would make all the difference for the rest of his life.